FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
The situation in Afghanistan stands in contrast to that in Iraq. The trend has, frankly, spiraled downward in many areas. The insurgency in Afghanistan has expanded its strength and influence, and levels of violence in some areas in 2008 were double those of 2007. The Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and the associated syndicate of extremists have demonstrated considerable resilience, due in large part to the presence of safe havens just across the Afghan border with Pakistan and the steady flow of revenues from narcotics trafficking. Their resurgence has also resulted to varying degrees throughout the country, from frustration with the slow development of Afghanistan's fledgling government, whose legitimacy has suffered due to the security situation, an inability to provide adequate essential services, and corruption. Our fundamental objective in Afghanistan remains, as Secretary Gates recently testified before Congress, to ensure that transnational terrorists are not able to reestablish the sanctuaries they enjoyed there prior to 9/11. Accomplishing this aim, though, requires not just killing or capturing terrorists, but also developing Afghan security forces, reducing the drug trade that finances the insurgency, fostering the growth of Afghan governance that achieves legitimacy in the eyes of the people, creating basic economic opportunity for Afghanistan citizens, and so forth. Essentially, it requires a robust, sustained, comprehensive counterinsurgency campaign. In fact, nowhere are comprehensive efforts more important or more challenging than in the conduct of counterinsurgency operations. Our first priority in Afghanistan is clear. We must reverse the cycle of violence. While military force by itself is not sufficient to do this in full, it is vitally necessary, for the security of the people is an essential condition for further progress. We must help our Afghan partners create the breathing space that allow the people to stand up for themselves, as the Iraqi people did during the awakening movements there, and that also will allow the government to begin working for its people and providing essential services instead of simply struggling to survive. With improved essential services and better overall performance, the Afghan government will gain legitimacy. As this takes place, opportunities for reconciliation will become possible. As reconciliation takes place, intelligence inevitably improves. As intelligence improves, security operations become more precise and more effective. And because of all that, security will improve further. Each factor reinforces the other, and over time, progress in each can reverse the current trend in certain areas in Afghanistan and produce an upward spiral in them rather than a downward one. All of this will take time, and security improvements must establish the foundation for all other progress. As Henry Kissinger recently wrote, reform will require decades. It should occur as a result of, and even side by side with, the attainment of security, but it cannot be the precondition for it. Producing the necessary breathing space and beginning to make progress on broader goals will require more resources, more military and civilian personnel from the international and U.S. agency communities as well. The U.S. troop increase recently announced by President Obama is an important element of this increase, as is the planned augmentation of the civilian elements in Afghanistan. Of course, just more troops, civilians, and funding won't be enough. As students of history, we're keenly aware that Afghanistan has, over the years, been known as the graveyard of empires. So our troops must be employed wisely to avoid being seen as outsiders bent on conquering it. First and foremost, U.S. and Afghan forces must strive to secure and serve the population. They must be good neighbors in the communities they serve, seeking to understand the neighborhood, support local reconciliation, and promote Afghan solutions to Afghan problems. They must, of course, also pursue the enemy relentlessly and then hold areas that have been cleared. And in all of this, they must live our values and always strive to be first with the truth. Employed in line with such concepts, our troopers will be a critical part of a comprehensive campaign plan for the region. This plan will entail further growth and professionalization of the Afghan National Army and Police, greater unity of effort between all actors, and a regional approach that includes Pakistan. And the plan will also involve parallel efforts to help reverse the cycle of violence, develop the Afghan forces, foster reconciliation, build governmental capacity, destroy the narcotics insurgency nexus, and support development, anti-corruption, rule of law, and community outreach programs. If that sounds like a hefty list, it is. Sustained, substantial assistance will be required to enable our Afghan partners to construct the new Afghanistan.